Okay, guys. So this is the second time that I'm going to try to do this. I was in the middle of doing this and got deathly ill. I mean, I thought I was just going to like keel over, boom, just everything rushed away. So we're going to try it again. Hi, it's Anne Marie with AM Astro, and I am going to be talking about Kate Middleton, who the Princess of Wales, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, get her name right, in the hospital. And so I pulled up her chart. Oh goodness, I hate it when I do this. Everything's everywhere. I don't want that. I don't want that. Here we go. Okay, here's her natal chart. And I have my notes. I even took notes. This is why I was so ridiculous when I was like trying to do this and I'm passing out. I was like, ugh. So her natal chart. This, even though 7 p.m. sounds rounded and questionable, this is apparently an A-rated chart, which means that somebody, that it's noted down that it was, oh yeah, it was 7 p.m. on January 9th, 1982. So she's 42 years old currently. Her birthday was recently, like 9 days ago. She is a Leo rising. She was born during an eclipse. This is a lunar eclipse because the full moon eclipses are lunar eclipses because the Earth is in between the sun and the moon, and so the moon, the light on the moon gets shut out. So you see like the shadow of Earth going over the moon. So that's a lunar eclipse. The moon is being eclipsed. So that means that eclipses are significant in her lifetime, and she will be impacted by them, some more than others, obviously. But you can see that her sun and moon are both near the nodes, so that is a good indicator of an eclipse too. She's Leo rising, so the sun rules her chart. The sun represents her in her chart, and then because of the eclipse, that's significant too. You just think about the word eclipse, like, she's princess, and a beautiful woman, always very stylish. Some would say that she may, well, who does she eclipse? I'm not going to start any dramas there. Oh, and speaking, okay, let me wait. I have to say this. So this is a disclaimer. I'm not claiming to be predicting anything when I'm talking about this stuff. I am a student of astrology, have been studying it for years, not that many by some people's standards, but pretty seriously I've been studying it. But this is just practice for me. Like, I've learned some key things that I want to then apply. So I'm applying what I'm learning and sharing that. And these videos, I'm not necessarily doing these videos for anyone else other than me to practice what I'm learning and put it into a format so that, so I can say, okay, well, let's see, what am I learning? And then I'm putting this together. So that's my disclaimer. So, let the hate, just pour it on. I'm not predicting anything, or I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is actually true. I could be misinterpreting a million things. Just go with me, all right? Or don't. I don't care. I really do wish you all would join me in this learning adventure. But yeah, I'm not trying to say this is it. So anyway, where were we? Eclipse. Who is she eclipsing? That's right. And I'm sure we can think of some that the press have been widely spreading who Kate has eclipsed. So the sun is in the 5th house, and it is conjunct her south node. So now the south node can be thought of, and And because I'm focusing right now on the fact that she's in the hospital, that she's, that there's some threat to her health, in that frame of reference, the south node is like a drain. It's draining her, and the sun is vitality. It's draining her vitality. So this is her natal chart. So we can see that that is something that's in her natal chart as a possibility, okay? That could happen in her lifetime. And the south node is conjunct the cusp of the 6th house, which is the house of illness. It's a night chart, 7 p.m., the sun had set. And so in a night chart, then Saturn is the malefic out of sect or contra to sect. So Saturn is the more malefic planet in her lifetime. And Saturn rules the 6th house of illness. And it also rules the 7th house of partnerships, one-on-one partnerships, but also open enemies. Saturn is exalted in Libra, but it's cadent in the 3rd house, and it's conjunct Pluto. It's co-present with Mars. It's too wide to be considered a conjunction, but Mars is approaching. And Mars is in detriment because Mars rules Aries, and so when it's the opposite sign of the sign that it rules, it's in detriment. So that Mars is a pretty nasty Mars too. And Saturn is also squaring the nodal axis because it's 21 Libra, which is a cardinal, and her nodal axis is in Capricorn and Cancer, which are cardinals. So it's a square. Because I use Regiomontanus, it looks like there's more distance between here and here than there is between here and here. So it's kind of hard to see it as a square. So you just have to know the modes, and the modes are cardinal. So this is cardinal, that's cardinal. So that's a square. So that's a bunch of negative things on her Saturn. Yes, it's exalted, which means it's very strong, but it's also very negative. It's malefic contra to sect, which means it's the greater malefic in her chart. It's conjunct Pluto, and it's squaring the nodes, and it's co-present with Mars and Pluto. So that's kind of like besieged, except is there anything else that yeah, it's the nodes, it's besieged between, no, it's squaring the sun too. So no, that's not, ignore that. The besiegement will come up later for something else, but it's not besieged. So, like I said, she's 42 years old. So, on her birthday of this year, 9 days ago, she went from a 6th house profection year to a 7th house profection year. But in her natal chart, Saturn rules both the 6th and the 7th. So this is a period of time last year and this year where Saturn plays a very significant role in her life. And so not only planets approaching her natal Saturn and having conjunctions or oppositions or squares or whatever to her natal Saturn, transiting Saturn and whatever it's doing is very significant in her life for these 2 years, last year and this year as well. Okay. So then we're going to look at her solar return chart for 2023. Am I still sharing? Okay. This is her, no, this isn't the right one. What is this? Yeah, solar return chart. Catherine, Princess of Wales, 2023 solar return, January 9th, 2023. So of course that means solar return means when the sun gets back to the same degree that it was on your natal birth chart. And so that's 19 Capricorn, 12 minutes. Now on And I'm going back to 2023 because I had heard that she possibly was admitted to the hospital on December 28th of 2023. So that was before her 2024 solar return. So I just wanted to look at the 2023 and just see what we've got going on here. And it's a Leo rising again, just like her natal chart. So the sun is the it rules Leo, and so it signifies her and her vitality. And it's in the 6th house of illness, co-present with Pluto. And also you would include Mercury because it's on the cusp. It's right on the cusp of the 6th house. So Venus is on the cusp of the 7th, so I wouldn't consider Venus. But again, we're thinking about, no, we're thinking about 6th house for the 2023. We're thinking about 6th house perfection, ruled by Saturn. Saturn's in the 7th, and the sun and Pluto and Mercury are in the 6th house. So there's a focus in this year on her health and what conditions could be coming up for her health. The moon, so when we're thinking about health, we want to see the body is represented by the 1st house. So what do we gain by looking at the 1st house? And the moon is there. And the moon always represents the body as well. That's just kind of a co-significator of our bodies. And so it is in the 1st house of vitality. It's in conjunct to the sun. They're both at 19 degrees, but they can't see each other because like Leo is opposite Aquarius and Capricorn is just before Aquarius. So that's called an in conjunct. It says it can't see it. So the planet that represents vitality and then the moon, which is in the 1st house of vitality, they can't see each other. The two luminaries, they're both below the horizon and they can't see each other. So that's not a good thing. And it's opposing Saturn. So in conjunct to the sun, and it's in an opposition, it's an applying opposition to Saturn. Again, Saturn's important both in the 2023 and in 2024 because it is her, what is that word? The perfection year Lord. And this is a night chart because the sun is below the horizon. And so Saturn is the malefic contra to sect. So it is the greater malefic in this chart as well. So more significance on Saturn. Saturn rules the 6th house of illness and the 7th house of partners, but it's also open enemies. It could also represent doctors, physicians, but it also rules the 8th house. And the 8th house, when we're thinking and looking at charts through the lens of health, medical situations, the 8th house is anxiety and death. So again, I'm not predicting anything. I'm just reading a chart, okay? So there are definitely though some very concerning things in these charts. So Saturn is ruling 6th house of health and illness, 7th house of partnerships, and 8th house of death. Or just anxiety, if you feel better about that. Okay. So then I wanted to look at, then I wanted to look at the 12th harmonic for December of 2023. So what the 12th harmonic charts, I did these for George Santos when he was, and I don't even know if they should apply for that, but that's just something that I just learned. So if you want to look at a video I did on that and I explained the 12th harmonics. What the 12th harmonic return charts, it takes the sun each month from your solar return and it moves it 1 month ahead So, or one sign ahead, I guess I should say. So her moon is normally, in her natal chart, it's at 19 degrees Capricorn. And so then you would move it to 19 degrees Aquarius for 1 month, and then 19 degrees Pisces for 1 month, and on through the zodiac. And so this is the 11th month before her next birthday. So we're looking at the sun at 19 degrees Sagittarius. Hopefully that makes sense. And you do this for if there are signs of health concerns in a solar return chart, you would then look at the 12th harmonics each month to see, well, I wonder when things could get worse. And then you can also do a lunar thing, and I have never even tried to do that. We learned it, but I haven't done any of those, and I'm not going to do any of that today. So for this 12th harmonic return, and for December 11th, 2023, which is when the sun got to the 19 degree, 12-minute mark, but this time of Sagittarius. It's an Aries rising ruled by Mars. And Mars is in the 8th house, but it's close. This is less than 5 degrees. I usually say 5 degrees, so you put it into the next house. So it's on the cusp of the 9th house. It's a day chart because the sun is above the horizon. In fact, a lot of stuff is above the horizon. So that means that Mars, though, is the malefic contrary to sect. So Mars is the greater malefic in this chart. And Mars rules both the ascendant and the 8th house of death and anxiety. So let's look at the moon is in the 8th house, and it's squaring Saturn in the 12th. And again, you have to look at modes here because that doesn't look like a square, but they're both mutable, right? Sagittarius is mutable fire, and Saturn is, Pisces is mutable water. So the mutables they're square to each other, or opposing, or so. So the moon is applying to a square with Saturn because the moon is obviously faster than Saturn. So it's an apply when they're applying is stronger. It's at like tense, and then when it hits the exact aspect, and then it starts easing. Okay, so this is an applying aspect, and so it's increasing. And Saturn, again, we're talking about Saturn being a key in her perfection year charts, and this is still a 23, so the 6th house of illness. So, and squares are never, squares are always and this is a closing square, so that means something has to be let go of. Something that started when the moon was conjunct Saturn, and then you get to the first square, and that's, there's a challenge there, you need to make a decision, and then the opposition is you make that decision and you act on it, and then the third is, okay, well, now that you've acted on it, you need to let go of something. So something that you believed in, or you started at that conjunction, now you have to let go of it. So what could that be? I don't know. We would have to go back and look at that chart, and we're not doing that. This is just practice, right? Okay. So that moon is, where am I? I lost my place now. Come on. Squaring Saturn in the 12th house. And the 12th house is hospitals and confinements. So letting go of something, having to be admitted into a hospital, letting go of your freedom, letting go of your ability to control the situation, having to let go, and 12th house is also letting go too. But yeah, so now this month looks like the situation could, like if somebody were sitting down and talking to her about this a year ahead and saying each month, so if we're concerned about a health issue, then, okay, well, wow, we get to this month, that would be a signal of possibly something, that this could be a month when that would happen, when it could escalate. 7th house is ruled by Venus, in the seventh, but it's in detriment because it's in Scorpio, because Venus rules Taurus. And so Venus isn't happy here. Like Venus is in detriment, even though she's in the house that she rules, she's in the sign that she's in detriment. And she's co-present with the South Node. Again, we're talking about the South Node being a drain when we're talking about health things. So this could indicate that her surgeon, because Scorpio is also surgeons, and the seventh house is your doctor. So this could indicate a surgeon, as like Venus could be an OBGYN, and they're operating on or removing South Node reproductive organs, Scorpio, Venus. And it's opposing Jupiter. Venus is opposing Jupiter in the first, co-present with Uranus. So, and Jupiter is in retrograde. So this is readdressing something. Jupiter would indicate liver, spleen, gallbladder, or pancreas involvement, possibly. So we did learn that she did have abdominal surgery. So that's all like right in there. And with Uranus, seems like it's a sudden onset, okay? And Jupiter also is ruling the sun in this chart, ruling her vitality. So that adds a little bit of emphasis there as well. Also rules the moon and Mars. The moon is at 0 degrees of Sagittarius, so that also indicates a sudden onset, a change in vitality, a change in the situation. And so the moon rules the 4th and the 5th. So the 4th house, when we're talking about reading this kind of chart, the 4th house is the end of the matter. And then the 5th house could represent children. So this could be a hysterectomy, because that would also be, because Taurus and Venus and Scorpio. And so we don't know. And I'm not predicting anything. I'm just reading charts, right? Okay. So roll with it, or, we're just learning. Who knows? Who knows if it's right or not? But that's the energies that I'm reading, okay? So then we want to look at the 2024 solar return for January 9th, 2024, which was her birthday. And in this chart, look at all of that energy at the bottom of the chart. So it's a Libra rising. So Venus is ruling her in this chart. Ow, that hurt. And Venus is down here in the 3rd house in Sagittarius. Let me look at my notes before I start going off script. Co-present with Mercury, the moon, and Mars. So that's a lot of personal planets right there, right? And the 3rd house is cadent. So Sedent and cadent. And cadent is, we can't do anything. Cadent, when the cadent houses, planets in cadent houses they've fallen from the angle. So they don't have the ability to do as much as they mean to. And that's a lot of personal planets there. Venus also rules the 8th house of anxiety and death. And it's a night chart. So that makes Mars the malefic contra sect, and Mars is right here at the bottom of the chart. It's exalted in Capricorn, which gives it even more power. But if it's the malefic, then it's giving more malefic power. So Mars rules the 4th in exaltation, the 7th, and the 2nd. And so what this could indicate is having a really good surgeon ruling the 7th house of physicians, but he's not and he's exalted, so everybody thinks he's great, but he's in a cadent house, so he's you know, and he's not, it looks like it's close to that cusp, but that's 8 degrees away. So I wouldn't, so he's in the third house, he's cadent. And it's probably going to cost a lot of money because he rules the second house too. So he's unable to do something because he's in the cadent house. There's something that's, even though he's a great surgeon because he's exalted, he's probably expensive, the best there is, but there's something that he can't do because he's cadent. Where am I? Okay, Mars is in conversation with Saturn in Pisces because that's a sextile. It's an applying sextile. And so I like to, sometimes people start, when we start talking astrology and we say trine, sextile, blah, blah, people just shut us off, you know, never mind. So I try to explain it's a conversation. When they're in aspect, it's a conversation. And when it's a sextile, that's a positive conversation or a supportive conversation, because supportive does not always mean positive. Think about the MAGA movement. They support Trump. Are they good? No. So that's what, so supportive does not necessarily mean positive, okay? But this is a supportive conversation he's having with Saturn. It's a night chart. Mars is, remember, the malefic contra sect. So he's having a conversation with Saturn in the 5th house. So, in a water sign, in a mutable water sign, this could have to do with, I mean, the 5th house has to do with children. It also has to do with risk taking. And Saturn actually rules the 5th house because the cusp is in Aquarius, but he's in Pisces. So there's a conversation going on there that we're not sure about. And he's also in a conversation with Jupiter, and that's a trine, which is, again, it's a conversation. Trines are positive, you would think, but they're supportive. Now, the sextile is more of an opportunity is presented. So it's a conversation. So maybe like that could say, yeah, we need to talk. A trine is supportive in a sense that Jupiter is offering more, like getting involved. So the trine is just more of it, whereas a sextile is, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's plan. You have your people, call my people. It's the start of a conversation. There's an opportunity there. With the trine aspect, you've got this. There's more action involved, although it is a Earth sign, so it's more of a receptive than an active. But there's more pushed behind it. And so that's Jupiter in the 8th house of anxiety and death. So to Mars, the greater malefic in this chart. So that's something to think about. Okay, so Jupiter, let's look at Jupiter again. Jupiter rules the 6th house of illness and is located in the 8th house of anxiety or death. And Saturn, because Saturn is in Pisces, also is reporting to Jupiter because Jupiter rules Pisces. And I use traditional rulerships in this type of chart reading. So you don't want to, so that's why I'm not saying, oh, but it's Neptune. I'm saying, no, it's Jupiter. Let the hate mail begin. And so the moon, because we always want to look at the moon, is in the last degrees of Sagittarius. So there's a change coming whenever planets are getting ready to change signs or change houses. There's something, that's indicating a change. And so when the moon gets into Capricorn, that's the sign of its detriment, because the moon rules Cancer, and Cancer is opposite Capricorn. So that's detriment, okay? So the moon is going into detriment. So that's not good. And then the sun, the natural significator for vitality, again, even though Venus is the ruler of the chart, the sun is just a natural ruler of vitality. It's at the bottom of the chart, and it's in a semi-square, it's a half square which again is an astrology term, but it's a conversation. But it's this is a half square is like, oh, did you hear what he said? There's angst about it, okay? Because it's half the square. When the square comes up, it's that decision that needs to be made. So this is you're hearing something, oh no. And it's the start of that negative conversation, right? It's like, so what we can imagine, the bottom of the chart, the end of the matter, and then Saturn's over here. And so because the sun is the one that's applying to, the sun is the one that's, we're getting his take on it. And it's, you know, Saturn said, no more children, or Saturn said, what else could the fifth house be? That the risks are too great to do this. We can't, it's too late. We can't do that. Saturn's saying no. So I don't know. Again, I'm just reading a chart, right? I'm not predicting anything. Okay, so then the next one that I want to look at is, and this is the last one I'm going to look at today because this is going long. And again, we just want to minimize how much negativity we're looking at. So this is the 12th harmonic for this. This is like the first of the 12th harmonic from her solar chart. So like her solar return, the sun was at 19 Capricorn. Now we've moved it one sign ahead. So it's at 19 Aquarius. And so I initially look at this and I say, oh, everything's above the horizon. That's a good thing. Except the sun is in Aquarius, which is its detriment. Meh. It's at the top of the chart, so it's the most elevated planet, but it's in detriment. And it's squaring Uranus. And again, we're looking at modalities, fixed air and fixed earth. So it's in a square to Uranus. And I threw in there the modern ruler of Aquarius, even though I just went through my whole little speech about I use traditional rulers. but there is an affiliation there, and Uranus is the sudden planet of you know, something suddenly changes. And so this is February 8th. We're looking to see, you know, the sun vitality in detriment is having a sudden change when it in this connection to Uranus. It's a Gemini rising. So Mercury is ruling the chart. That when this Gemini rising, there's two of something, right? Because it's a mutable sign and it's two of something and it's changing because mutable. It's like, you know, this, but this, twins. I'm not saying she's having twins. It's a sign of twins. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just reading charts, just reading. So Mercury is, ruler of the chart is peregrine, which means, think of it like we're talking about detriment, we're talking about exaltation. So when a planet is in exaltation, I think I told the story about going on vacation to my boss's house, and my boss at that house has a butler and a chef. And so I was the guest there, but the butler and the chef were waiting on me and driving me everywhere. I was exalted in that because I was the guest, but it wasn't my butler. And getting driven around in the Escalade was not my car. It was just, I was the guest. That's an exaltation. You have no responsibility. You get to enjoy all the perks, but then you got to leave, you know, it's like, it's not a permanent situation. So that's exaltation. Rulership is when you got to pay all the bills for all of those things. Yes, it's yours and you have it and it's wonderful, but you got to pay all the bills. You got to pay the butler and the chef. And so you have responsibilities that go with that, but it is your home. It's yours. Fall, well, we won't, okay. I'm trying to get to peregrine. Peregrine is when you're like, you go to Mexico and you don't have anywhere to stay and you don't speak the language and you're like trying to figure it all out. And So that's Mercury right now, ruling the chart. It's like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on. I'm not at home. I'm not a guest anywhere. I'm in a foreign land. I don't know the language. I don't have any friends here. I just don't know what to do. And the only conversation going on is applying square to Jupiter over here. So, so a square, again, it's like a, so maybe like, and Jupiter's in the 12th house. So this is like, well, yeah, there's a room at the hospital. or, well, yeah, we've got a room in the jail that you can come spend the night in. So it's just that kind of thing. It's like, I'm not going to do you any favors. So that's not good for Mercury. Separating from a conjunction with Pluto. So that's, that's not good. That's a heavy planet. So it's like pulling away from that heaviness there and then applying to this Jupiter in the 12th house of confinement, hospitals. It's a day chart. Like I said, everything's above the horizon. So that means Mars is the malefic conjurate to sect. So Mars is still in Capricorn, so he's exalted. He's in the 8th house, but he's on the cusp, so I would call him 9th house. He's ruling the 6th house of illness. He's conjunct the moon, and the moon is still in Capricorn, so it's still in detriment. They're on the cusp of the 9th. So this feels icky. And then that moon, because it's at 28 degrees Capricorn, so it's still in detriment. It's void of course. It's not making any connections to anything. It's already past this. You wouldn't even count this though, as far as a void, but it's past this, whatever that is, trine to the part of fortune, and it's past this sextile to Neptune. But with traditional, there's no, it's literally stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is besiegement, sort of. I mean, if you want to consider Pluto a malefic, I think it would still be considered besieged because of Mercury being peregrine. If you didn't count Pluto, it would still be besieged because it's separating from Mars, who is the greater malefic of the chart, and applying toward Pluto, which is very heavy and death and yuck. But if you don't want to count an outer planet, then it's applying to Mercury, which is peregrine. So meh. So that's besiegement, or else malefically enclosed, however you want to look at it. So all that to say that Catherine, Princess of Wales, is in a really bad spot right now, according to astrology. I'm not making any predictions. I'm just reading the charts. But I think that she could use all the positive energy sent her way. I really do wish the best for her. I would imagine that whatever is happening will have a significant impact on the whole royal family. I also heard that King Charles has had some health issues too, but maybe we'll look at him another day. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. I would love to see my numbers go up. That would be really cool. But if you've followed through to this point, thank you. I didn't pass out this time. I don't know what was going on earlier, but I was trying to read my notes, and I had to stop every 3 seconds to try to figure out what was going on. What am I doing? What am I saying? So anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.